Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jerry with Dub Bears Talk, and today I'm going to go over why Caleb Williams is going to have the greatest situation ever for any quarterback ever in history to come in and have success. Typically, when a quarterback comes in, there's either an issue where the defense isn't very good, or you don't have a lot of weapons, or the offensive line isn't very good. There isn't very many holes on the Chicago Bears right now, and that is going to create one of the greatest scenarios ever in NFL history. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. If you look at in recent history, we have guys like Bryce Young, who everybody, Bryce Young, he's going to be a great quarterback. He's going one overall. He's undersized, and he doesn't have any help whatsoever, and he gets absolutely screwed. Let's talk about the 2021 draft, where we get a bunch of quarterbacks and Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson and I guess what's his name wouldn't really count. Trey Lance did have a lot of help, just didn't really pan out. But Mac Jones, Justin Fields, a lot of them didn't really have very much help. You could argue Trevor Lawrence did, but he had Urban Meyer for that first year, which really halted his development. And then you've got Zach Wilson, who they did add Garrett Wilson, and they had a pretty good defense, but he just didn't really work out because everybody overreacted to his pro day, and he wasn't as good as everybody thought that he was. But yeah, so I'm going to talk about today why he has the best. And I'm sure most Bears fans, if you're watching this video, you know why. But I'm going to break this down. I'm going to go in depth with some of the greatest setups that players have had coming in that have actually had a lot of success and what that looks like, and then compare position to position and tell you, well, do you think this person's better than this person? And if you do, that would be a reason that Caleb Williams would have a better opportunity for success. So like the video if you like it. Comment down below what you're most excited for about the new Bears team. Do you have do you have a particular thought of what to do at 9? Do you want to get Caleb another weapon? Do you want to help build the offensive line? Let me know down below. And then subscribe for more. We're going to have some draft grades once the NFL draft happens. But let's get right into it. So I wanted to talk about other great first overall quarterbacks in the past 20 years. Or I guess 25 years would be Peyton Manning is a big one to name one. Did not have a successful first year. Carson Palmer went first overall. Eli Manning, Matt Stafford, Cam Newton, Andrew Luck, Jared Goff, Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence, and then C.J. Stroud went second. I'm going to talk about him a little bit too. Picking from those, though, Andrew Luck truly is one of the ones that had the best rookie season. And then another 1-2 scenario where you have a lot of successes. Actually, RG3. RG3, his rookie season had a lot of success, but he kind of falls off. So I don't like to talk about him. But then if you look at the best early season, so, first or second season, player really has success early. Who has had the best seasons as a rookie? And that would be Cam Newton, Big Ben, C.J. Stroud, Russell Wilson, RG3, Andrew Luck, and Jameis Winston. Now, of all of those, if you look at all the players, the coaching staff, the situation, everything that was going on, the best situation to me was Andrew Luck with the Colts and C.J. Stroud with the Texans. Now, I might get some hate for that because a lot of people are saying C.J. Stroud's the reason they're having success. But I'm going to explain to you a little bit later as to why I don't believe that's the case. But let's go over Andrew Luck first. So Andrew Luck coming in, their previous season, I believe they went like 3-13 or 4-12. They did not have a good season, but that was because Peyton Manning was injured. And that did show that Peyton Manning had a huge impact on the team and was a big reason as to why they had success. But on the other side of that coin, you also have to you have to know that Andrew Luck was going first overall. So clearly, you're getting who is supposed to be one of the best prospects out of the draft. And the expectation for him was to live up to Peyton Manning. And I think his success early goes to show how talented the roster was around him. So Andrew Luck had Reggie Wayne, T.Y. Hilton, Coby Fleener, Didn't really have much going on at running back, and the offensive line was just solid. It wasn't amazing. It wasn't anything great. They also had Chuck Pagano, who was a well-known coach in the league and who had known for performing well. On the defensive line, you had Dwight Freeney and Robert Mathis. And then for defensive backs, you had Vontae Davis and Darius Butler, who all very long NFL careers. Corner, and then Antoine Bethea, who was, at the time he was playing, one of the best safeties in the league. So if you look at that whole team, you have a lot of key pieces on defense. Dwight Freeney, obviously older at this point. Robert Mathis, I believe this would have been more of his prime. And then your secondary is pretty well put together. And if you compare that, so let's compare that to what the Bears have. So I mentioned Reggie Wayne and T.Y. Hilton. Would you rather have year 2 T.Y. Hilton and old Reggie Wayne, or year, 6, DJ Moore and old Keenan Allen? I think that one would be up for debate. I think Keenan Allen and Reggie Wayne, you could probably rank pretty closely. Like, I would assume you would think Keenan Allen is going to be a Hall of Famer with how successful he's been in his career. And Reggie Wayne still isn't in the Hall of Fame, but I think you could list them both in the same category as on the brink of Hall of Fame. And then T.Y. Hilton, obviously a lot younger at this time than DJ Moore was, but DJ Moore is your kind of younger, still has a long future wide receiver. Would you rather have DJ Moore or T.Y. Hilton? I think you could make an argument for each. I would rather have DJ Moore with how much success he's had with a bunch of nobody quarterbacks. So I would give the wide receiver category there to the Bears over the 2012 Colts. Then you look at Coby Fleener was really the only notable tight end on the roster at the time. The Bears have Cole Kmet, who is, as I've mentioned before, I think a top 7 or 8 tight end in the league. And you also have Gerald Everett, who I think is a starting caliber tight end in the league. So I think the tight end department, you win there. I don't even remember who the Colts, what was that? I don't even remember who the Colts running back was. I believe it was a younger guy or a rookie was getting majority of the carries at this time, but not a notable enough name. The Bears have DeAndre Swift, Khalil Herbert, and Roschon Johnson. So that running back room has got to be better than whatever the Colts had. You move on to the defense. Through the last 6 games, the Bears had the number 1 defense in turnovers, I think yards allowed. They're just the last 6 games they absolutely went off, and that's not going to be consistent, moving forward for years to come. But it goes to show how well the defense was playing and how well the defense can play with, with Eberflus putting everybody in the right place, and then having Montez Sweat come in and basically be the biggest game changer there. Now you move on to the Texans with C.J. Stroud. I think everybody said, C.J. Stroud was amazing. He did so much, and I think C.J. Stroud was good. One thing I'd like to highlight before I move on with that is C.J. Stroud was second of all quarterbacks in lowest accuracy, which how they track quarterback accuracy, I really don't know, and I can't use that as like the most credible source, but if you do watch highlights, they aren't all quite C.J. Stroud just dropping it in a bucket. There is often some of those weapons on that team going up and getting it, or it's a situation where Tank Dell's able to outrun the defense. I'm not trying to knock C.J. Stroud whatsoever. I think he had a phenomenal rookie year, and I think he was a part of why they had that. But I'm going to explain why I think that there was way more to it than that. So you have Devin Singletary on the team, who is a nice dual threat. You can use him out of the backfield. He can have success in the run game, and he's gonna be successful. You have Damon Pierce, who hasn't lived up to expectations, but did show that he's a hard runner and can get yards and is better than your average running back. Okay, then Nico Collins, Tank Dell, Robert Woods, and Noah Brown are your 4 wide receivers. Not to mention John Mechie, who hasn't really had much of an opportunity, I believe, because of leukemia or cancer of some sort. So, I mean, those are 5 wide receivers right there that, like, even if you just said Nico Collins, Tank Dell, and Noah Brown, you'd go, damn, that's pretty good. And then you go, Robert Woods, is in there too. He's the wide receiver 4 when the year prior he was a wide receiver 2. So I think you have to look at that and go, damn, there's a lot of talent there. And then Dalton Schultz. Remember, when Dalton Schultz was on the Cowboys, he was talked about up there with some of the top guys. It was like Travis Kelce, George Kittle, Mark Andrews, probably TJ Hawkinson, and then who's next? It would usually, Dalton Schultz would at least be up there. I think probably at the time Zach Ertz would probably be up there, and there'd be a couple other names, but at least the top 5 or 6, that's where Dalton Schultz was. Now he lost, he didn't have as much progression with the Cowboys, kind of had a falling out there, and then comes back and plays well for the Texans. So I think looking at that right there, I don't think you can discredit the wide receivers. Nico Collins did what he did. You can say the previous year, C.J. Stroud made him or whatever. He had Davis Mills throwing him the balls. Davis Mills, there was no chance Davis Mills was going to be an amazing quarterback in this league. So to say that C.J. Stroud is the reason that Nico Collins is around is just not acceptable. I think the Tank Dell pick is great. I think if the Bears get somebody like Odunze in the draft, you're going to have a similar feat there. You have Laramie Tunsil on the offensive line. I didn't list the offensive linemen. I don't know them off the top of my head, but you've got a lot of talent on that offensive line from the Texans, as the Bears do. And then Bobby Slowick is the last one. Bobby Slowick, people are saying, he was there was potential for him to get a head coaching job because of his success with C.J. Stroud, and he just ends up sticking around, but he's from the Shanahan tree. And it appears that he was also a big part of C.J. Stroud's development and part of his reason for success. So I don't want that to go just swept under the rug. Just quick recap of the offense: Devin Singletary, Damon Pierce, Nico Collins, Tank Dell, Robert Woods, Noah Brown, Dalton Schultz, and Laramie Tunsil, and Bobby Slowick as the offensive coordinator. I just think with all of that put together, those are weapons. And I don't think you can say that all of these people only had success because of C.J. Stroud and C.J. Stroud elevated them. I think you have to be able to get guys the ball. You have to make the right decisions, and C.J. Stroud is a big part of that. But I would just like to mention that that's an insane supporting cast just for the offense. Moving on to the defense, DeMeco Ryans, who was the defensive coordinator for the number 1 defense in the entire NFL, and then moves to a team that he played for in the NFL. So, more reason to have, a good experience coaching. And then on the defense, really the only big names are Jonathan Grenard, Will Anderson, Jimmy Ward, and Derek Stingley. But he's able to elevate them, and the defense performs very well, helping them win games that they probably shouldn't have with C.J. Stroud's performance. So when you have your defense in it and winning games, you've got a quarterback on a rookie contract, and you can, have a lot of these talented names. And with the success that they had, I feel like it was a lot more than what most people say because of the talent around C.J. Stroud. Now, looking at that compared to the Bears, I think the defense definitely can be better than the Texans. Just with the last 6 games, as I mentioned, I think with that alone, you could make an argument that that's better. So as far as the defense goes, you've got Matt Eberflus, who's just been cooking. He's been cooking as far as end of the season goes. Play calling was good. Once he took over, everything got a little better, and then once Montez Sweat got there, you got a little better. At pick 9, you could add a defender, potentially the first defensive lineman off the board, like the Texans did with Will Anderson. You could potentially have that situation in Chicago as well. And then moving, again, back to the offense. Okay, whose wide receiver room is better? Nico Collins, Tank Dell, Robert Woods, Noah Brown, I guess it would be, what is it? It's Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, Tyler Scott, and Velus Jones. Is that our next receiver? So you got two really highs there in Keenan Allen and DJ Moore. But then I think on the back end, as far as your depth goes, I'd much rather have Noah Brown and Robert Woods as far as having depth. Especially you have Nico Collins go down, you have Tank Dell go down, and then you have Robert Woods and Noah Brown to continue to elevate your players. I'd almost give the wide receiver category to the Texans there. And then how about Devin Singletary and Damon Pierce? You've got Damon Pierce, who's your harder runner that's going to be your was supposed to be the every down back and didn't really have a whole lot of success. So you end up with Devin Singletary. And I think Devin Singletary could be looked at as pretty comparable to DeAndre Swift as a potential for every down back, but kind of better in the receiving area. You've got Khalil Herbert, who it seems like Damon Pierce is going to end up being like as a nice addition to a running back room, but not capable as of right now as being the guy. And then Bears also have Roschon Johnson, who I still have hope for. I think you could you're probably making an argument for the running back room going to the Bears, but it's very close because Damon Pierce has a lot of talent, and so does Devin Singletary. So that one would be very close as well. You look at the offensive line, Laramie Tunsil's a big name, and a lot of people like to hate on Braxton Jones and think that we need to replace him. I don't believe that. For those of you wondering, Braxton Jones was ranked 5th of all tackles, right and left tackles, in pass rush win rate. That's according to ESPN, and that is tracked based on keeping your guy in front of you for 2.5 seconds. So somebody, or maybe AI, tracks how long a person is blocked in front of you, and it's for 2.5 seconds. So I think Braxton Jones probably benefits from that, from his biggest problem being bull rushed. So I'm sure every time if he gets bull rushed and the guy, if he falls back and the guy lands on top of him, he probably still ends up getting a win there. But he does need to work on his strength and his ability to seemingly pretty easily be bull rushed, but that's really his only flaw. He's been fine in the run game. His run block win rate, which I don't understand really how they track that, but per ESPN, his run block win rate was 6th of all tackles. So you've got a guy at left tackle who was drafted in the 5th round, who is being ranked 5th in pass block win rate and 6th in run block win rate. And there's a whole fan base that wants to replace him. I don't understand that whatsoever. If you want to take a tackle, I think you're probably trying to replace Darnell Wright too early, or you're trying to move a guy that's a starting caliber player into a swing tackle, which I don't agree with doing. So that's a whole different story. But I think the Bears' offensive line is very well rounded. We're kind of banking on Ryan Bates being the guy as far as center. It's clear that Ryan Poles is big on him. That's probably the biggest hole, in my opinion. But it's not really a hole. It's just we don't know quite what he's going to be yet. So definitely a concern. But then tight end position, Cole Kmet and Gerald Everett, I would probably still take over Dalton Schultz. I don't think Dalton Schultz is exactly what he used to be. I think he's still a great player. But as well as having Gerald Everett there, I think that 1-2 punch with an offense I'll talk about in a second that is known for using 2 tight ends often, I think that's very valuable. Brevin Jordan was the next on the list for the Texans, who never really worked out. I believe he spent time with the Panthers. I think he was with the Texans last year. Just hasn't really worked out. I'd probably take Gerald Everett over him as well. But then moving on to the coaches, you've got Matt Eberflus, who again had him at a top-tier defense towards the end of the year. Could say the same thing for DeMeco Ryans. And then the offensive coordinator was Bobby Slowick, who came from the Shanahan tree and has had success there. Well, then you have Shane Waldron, who I believe also has ties to the Shanahan tree, but he also has ties to Sean McVay and was the coach for Geno Smith when Geno Smith had his late career breakout year and was regarded as the best offensive coordinator prospect to be available because Ben Johnson was either going to go to a head coaching job or stay with the Lions. So Shane Waldron was really the top option as far as an offensive coordinator. Now, we can't be sure for how he's going to use him and how that's all going to work out. We can't say that he's going to be great, but I'm just saying that he has the experience. He's called plays before, and it's a much better situation getting a guy who made a guy like Geno Smith have a lot of success late in his career and has had experience calling plays. He's been under Pete Carroll, Sean McVay, Shanahan, as opposed to Justin Fields, where he got Luke Getsy, who was just Aaron Rodgers' quarterback coach who wasn't even the original quarterback coach. He was just a guy that came in as quarterback coach. And then the Bears went, oh, yeah, this is who we want to train our mobile quarterback. So, yeah, I think that this is a much better situation for Caleb Williams. And I think that with all of this being said, if Caleb Williams doesn't have success, he will probably be the largest definition of a bust ever. But with how Caleb trains and how much success he had in college, more for himself, unfortunately not for the team. I think that's probably because of the team around him. I think Caleb Williams is going to be great for the Chicago Bears. I'm very, very much so looking forward to this draft. And thank you for watching. Enjoy the draft tomorrow with taking Caleb Williams at 1 and whatever ends up happening at 9. We're all hoping the best for the Bears. So thank you for watching, and bear down.